It's finally time to get the heads back on this junkyard 5.3 that I'm building in my backyard. All right, so we got our multi-layered gaskets here. You can see the layers in there. I was debating putting some copper spray on there. I've seen people do it, but we're just gonna try running it without it. So we're gonna get this one lined up here. All right, so let's get the head here. All right, we got that one on. Just gonna start one bolt on here. Finger tight to make sure it doesn't fall off. All right, so before I start, I'm just gonna mention that this is I believe it's a 03 and earlier were the ones that had these two different size bolts here. So we have a long one, and then you're gonna have two short ones, and that's gonna go on the very far ends in the middle, so here, and then on this side over here. So the 3 in the middle here will be this length, and the other 5 on the bottom will be the same length, and then the 2 on the outsides in the middle here are going to be this shorter length. And for the torque specs I'm mentioning, that's for the 03 and earlier 5.3, the Gen 3s, the early Gen 3 models. And then technically you're going to have a third one, but I believe these are the same on all the LS head gaskets. These ones are going to go on the top row, which I'll show you guys when we get there, because you do these last. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these finger tight to start, and then we'll go over tightening them down and the torque specs for this one. All right, now let's get all these snugged down before we start torquing them. All right, so now we can get these things torqued down. I took a piece of cardboard and wrote the torque specs. Because on these ones, it's a little different for the 2 end bolts up here and then over here in the middle. So everything's gonna go out of the main bolts because we're gonna do these ones last. These all go to 22 foot-pounds after all these steps are done. So we're gonna start in the middle. This will be 22 foot-pounds and 90 degrees, along with everything else except for number 9 and number 10, which will be 22 foot-pounds, 90 degrees, and then 50 degrees on both of those. So let's go ahead and start by getting everything to 22 foot-pounds. All right, I got my torque wrench here set to 22 foot-pounds. So we're gonna start on number 1 and then just follow. All right, 22 foot-pounds, and we're gonna go to number 2, and then after that, I'll speed it up for the sake of the video, but you can see the order that we're gonna go in. All right, now we're doing step 2. We're gonna hit everything to 90 degrees for the first pass. Same order as the first time. All right, so now we're gonna hit everything down to 90 foot-pound or 90 degrees again, except for the last two, 9 and 10, will only be 50 degrees. Now for the last two, 9 and 10, we're gonna hit them to 50 degrees real quick. All right, so now all those are torqued down. We're gonna hit the last couple here in the back, these small ones. We're just gonna go to 22 foot-pounds real quick. All right, and now those are all torqued down properly. So let's grab one of the valve covers and put it on there and just see what this side looks like. All right, we got the valve cover back on this side here. Starting to look like an engine again. I'm gonna go ahead and get the other side knocked out, get the other head on real fast, and the next time you guys see this thing, it'll be a complete long block. So I'll catch you guys on the next one.